Ready? Okay. Welcome to the 773rd Ordinary Council meeting. I now declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I'd like to advise that meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcasted and audio recorded. I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and are gathered, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I now ask the gallery to please be upstanding, if you are able to, for a moment of contemplation. We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibilities to the past and to the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. And trusted servants, we will seek the blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Thank you. You may be seated. Leave of absence. We have no leave of absence to record. Condolences. Before we start with condolences, I'd just like to announce the passing of Greg O'Donnell, who is a personal friend and long-time Canoobia resident. Greg was an outstanding resident. He would participate in a Christmas lights display every year, but it's Greg's battle that he had with his family. His young daughter passed away about 18 months ago, if you remember. She was suffering from a disease that took her life, and she suffered for such a long time, and she was very courageous in herself. And unfortunately, Greg has passed away, leaving his wife Lynn and son Scott. I'd like my condolences to be sent to the O'Donnell family. I can say that the Canoobia residents are shattered by this. It was so unannounced. Greg was only 61, or he might have been 62, but I know he was around that age, and to be taken that young, and with the battles he had, yeah, it was a big loss in the community, and I just want my condolences to be sent. Any other condolences? Councillor Bannon?
I'd like to pass on my condolences to the Ray family, to the Lee family, sorry. They're one of my oldest neighbours. I knew him since I could remember anything. He was always the coolest dad in the street. He was a car guy, and he always had Camaros and Cobras. He passed away in his sleep, and he went with a smile on his face, and as his wife Diane said, that he snuck out of the caravan. It's just the way he went. He's just the perfect neighbour. You couldn't fault the guy. You just couldn't get a better bloke. Unfortunately, his funeral's on at the moment online. I can't be there, so I just want to pass my condolences on to the Ray family, the Lee family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon. Any others? No? Can we be outstanding for minutes of silence, please? Thank you, councillors. You may be seated. Councillors, we now have congratulations reports to consider. Do any councillors, sorry, we do not have any councillor congratulations to consider, but councillors, you may wish to bring to our attention congratulations. So we'll start at Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to say a big thanks and congratulations to Kath Bartolo and the team at YFS, as well as the Logan City Council's City Lifestyle team. They've stepped into the breach during COVID-19, supplying parcels to families in need. Once we've seen a decrease or a cessation of income as a result of job losses. Not everyone who accesses our community services is on a benefit. These people had no access to benefits and as such were left in a void. Congratulations to both teams on filling that void, and I hope councillors join me in congratulating them.
Thank you. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's Men's Health Week, which is a time for us to pause and acknowledge that for a range of reasons, Australian men are less likely to enjoy the health benefits that living in one of the world's wealthiest nations provides. I congratulate Daisy Hill resident Justin Genge for being shortlisted as 2020's Best Lived Experience Speaker Award. The Australian Men's Health Forum gives this award to celebrate men who have helped to improve the lives and health of men and boys by sharing their own personal health stories as a lived experience speaker. Justin is a tireless advocate for the cause. He has contributed to suicide prevention and mental health awareness as a field officer for Mates in Construction and as an ambassador for the Are You OK initiative. He's just one of those people who's dedicated to making this world a better place, with one example being the daily cruise ship karaoke on Facebook during the COVID-19 lockdown. Definitely recommend you check it out. We'll find out if Justin's taken out the state's top prize tomorrow, and the national prize we'll find out on Friday. However, in Logan's eyes, he's already our number one. You can catch him speaking tonight, actually, as part of an online event called Conversations That Matter. You can find the details for that on Facebook and also on Council's website. This Men's Health Week, please check in on your dads, your sons, your partners, your brothers and your mates. Book in that doctor's appointment, invite a mate around for a cuppa, ask for help if you need it. There's a fantastic list of groups and other resources on Council's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Kerensky.
Thank you, and a great reminder for this time. Thank you, Councillor Russell. Today I just wanted to acknowledge the great work that's being done by our Logan Village Community Craft Cottage, and I think the Mayor had the opportunity to visit the Craft Cottage not all that long ago before we went into lockdown. But the incredible team from the cottage have dedicated their time during isolation to madly be creating for some great projects to help people across Logan. And some of those projects have included creating fiddle mats, palliative care, satin pillowcases, nighties, and of course face masks that have been used throughout COVID-19. So with restrictions easing, the team are looking forward to getting back to their regular meetings where they can continue the great work that they do in a social environment that they enjoy so much. But they're little unsung heroes in our community, and I just wanted to acknowledge them today for keeping their great work going during COVID restrictions. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Roven. Councillor Hall.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Fraser.
I have two, Mr Mayor. So, firstly, I'd like to congratulate Beth Lacey of Baronia Heights, who recently celebrated her 70th birthday. She was able to do so with family and friends, and I'd like to wish Beth a very happy birthday and wish her all the best and look forward to congratulating her for many more birthdays to come. My second one is Lighthouse Care of Hillcrest. So they recently received a Queensland Day award. So Minister Leanne Enoch, MP, recently went out there and handed them this award. They help provide food at affordable prices to those in the community in need, and their service has been well utilised during the COVID-19 crisis, and their continued service to the community is much appreciated. That's all, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Hirameyer.
Not at this time, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon.
Not at this time.
Councillor Stemp.
Mr Mayor, I have two, if that's okay, please. I'd like to congratulate Carbook resident Mrs Rachel Hunter for being awarded a Public Service Medal as part of the Queen's Birthday 2020 Honours List on the 7th of June. She's been recognised for her commitment for delivering excellent service to the public, innovation and strong leadership over a career of 35 years in the Queensland Public Service. I'd also like to congratulate Samuel Glancy, Year 7 student at Calvary Christian College, Carbrook, for recently being awarded the prestigious School Aid National Award in recognition of his outstanding efforts in raising thousands of dollars for children in need. Samuel's also led a Kids for Kids school supply drive, which collected school supplies for more than 70,000 children in Logan, and was previously awarded a National Young Leaders Day award. I know his family are very proud of him, and we look forward to seeing what is next for this remarkable young man.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to pass on my congratulations to Mary Barron. She's a Division 11 resident. And last Saturday, the 13th of June, the Logan Art Gallery reopened, and it was showcasing Mary's exhibition of lace, among other displays. Yesterday, I made time to pop in and visit during lunch to the art gallery to specifically view her exhibition, but to actually view all of the Logan Art Gallery, now that it is reopened. The exhibition was fantastic to see. She uses all recycled materials to produce all of her lace artwork. So if you get a chance, especially with the school holidays coming up, pop into the Logan Art Gallery and pop in and visit all of the displays there. Her display is on until Saturday the 25th of July, and go and purchase a piece of jewellery. I know I bought a couple of pieces yesterday because they were quite quirky and funky, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy.
Not at this time, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I now go into the confirmation of the minutes of the 772nd Ordinary Council meeting held on the 27th of May 2020. So I now refer to the minutes of the previous Ordinary Council meeting. I move that the minutes of the 772nd Ordinary Council meeting held on the 27th, hang on, we've got Councillor Bradley.
Oh, I was going to second, but I was just going to say there's some minor administrative amendments, and I'm happy to move with that.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. That's been noted. Yep. Any other corrections before I go into moving? Sorry. Okay, thank you. I now refer to the minutes of the previous Ordinary Council meeting. I move that the minutes of the 772nd Ordinary Council meeting held on the 27th of May 2020 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No? I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. So therefore the motion has been carried. Now, business arising from the minutes. We have no business arising from minutes to consider. So we'll go straight into the committee recommendations. I now refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 9th of June 2020. Councillor Bradley, Chairperson of the City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that there is a conflict of interest in item 7.1. Before we go into discussion, do any other councillors have any conflicts of interest they wish to declare at this stage? Just the item number. No conflicts of interest. I will now speak to the recommendations excluding item 7.1. I wish to speak to item 5.1, just for the public's benefit. Obviously, Council has been quite supportive of the community during the COVID-19 situation, and there are year-to-date expenditure that is recorded within item 5.1, which reflects across the organisation 631,000 that has been attributed to COVID-19. And the variances in revenue I can just say there have been a number of closures of facilities across the city, and mostly the Sports, Leisures and Facilities branch have been impacted by that. There's also been no major applications lodged within this financial year, so I just want to note that that is...
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Is there any other speakers? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to take this opportunity to speak to item 8.2, which is the recommended pay rise from the Independent Tribunal. I wanted to take an opportunity to speak to the community about this item, but before I do that, I just wanted to congratulate and thank my colleagues for the unanimous decision to reject this pay rise. We know that these are difficult times with many people and businesses in our city losing income, losing their jobs through the impacts of COVID. And during difficult times, leaders need to make difficult decisions. We've seen the challenges our local families are going through, and we know that many people are battling to make ends meet. This council stands in solidarity with our people, and we want you to know we care. We are listening, and we are all in this together. And that's why we've voted this way. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Any other speakers? No? Councillor Bradley, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I note that item 4.2 was the recommendation was deferred for today's meeting. The recommendation is on the screen.
Would you like to read that recommendation?
That the progression of the reintegration of City of Choice model supported by an MOU and subject to minor amendments developed in consultation with councillors as detailed in the confidential report of the Director of Innovation and City Transformation dated 9th of June 2020 be endorsed, that upon 31st of December 2020 the Corporate Governance Manager be requested to place the confidential report of the Director of Innovation and City Transformation dated 9th of June 2020 and associated background papers into the public records.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Bradley has moved the motion. There is a seconder to the motion. Councillor Karansky has seconded the motion. I now put it to the floor. Those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. You may proceed with the balance of the recommendations.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move the balance of the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting with the exception of item 7.1 be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley has now moved the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. I now put it to the floor. All those in favour? That has also been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. I now refer to item 7.1 of the recommendations. Councillor Murphy, you have indicated you have a conflict of interest. You may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I, Karen Murphy, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest in relation to 7.1 of the City Government's Committee due to the following reasons. The nature of the interest. As the past president of the Beenleigh Yatala Chamber of Commerce, I supported Haunted Attractions, J. Rose, in an application to Council, and a copy of that letter is with Council. I've also worked with J. Rose on many occasions as a quota member, and I have formed a relationship and friendship with J. Rose.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy has declared a conflict of interest, a perceived conflict of interest. They have indicated they propose to stay and participate in the meeting. In accordance with Section 175E of the Local Government Act 2009, you must now decide if Councillor Murphy has a perceived or real conflict of interest, provide the reason for your decision, and also to determine if they are free to participate in the meeting while the matter is discussed, including by voting on the matter, or should leave the meeting. Firstly, we will vote on the motion. I'd like to see the motion be put that Councillor Murphy has a perceived conflict of interest. Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Bradley has moved the motion. There is a seconder to the motion. Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. I now put it to the floor that Councillor Murphy has a perceived conflict of interest. That has been voted unanimously. Now we must vote on the second part of the motion, and that is whether or not Councillor Murphy can stay in the room. Councillor, please indicate if you believe that Councillor Murphy is free to participate in the meeting while the matter is being discussed, including by voting on the matter. So, do we have a mover that Councillor Murphy can stay in the room? No, we don't have a mover for that. Therefore, now it is believed that Councillor Murphy, please indicate if you believe that Councillor Murphy should stay away while the matter is discussed and voted on. So is there a mover for that? Councillor Raven has moved the motion and we have a seconder. Councillor Lane has seconded the motion. I put it to the floor that Councillor Murphy must leave the room. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Councillor Murphy, please. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. I now open discussion on item 7.1. Do any councillors wish to speak? Councillor Raven.
Reason for why we felt Councillor Murphy could not remain in the room for the debate.
Oh, sorry, yes, Councillor Raven. Your reason for Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We feel that due to Councillor Murphy's past relationship and friendship and working relationship with the proponent, that there would be a perception that she had an apprehended bias, which is why we don't believe she can stay in the room for the debate.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. That has been noted. Thank you, councillors. I now open to discussion on item 7.1. Do any councillors wish to speak? No councillors wish to speak. Councillor Bradley, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move item 7.1 of the recommendations of the City Governments Committee be adopted.
Councillor Bradley has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you, councillors. That motion has been carried unanimously. Can someone please ask Councillor Murphy to come back into the room, please? Thank you. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee held on the 9th of June 2020. Councillor Lane, Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were no conflicts of interest declared in the committee meeting. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare on any items? Just please advise of the item number only at this stage. There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. Mr. Mayor, the ARTC kindly attended our committee meeting, and I thank the team for their briefing and understand that they're in regular communications with council officers to progress concerns. Mr. Mayor, there's genuine concerns surrounding the benefits versus the negatives of Inland Rail, and none are greater than those of our residents here in Logan City. While there is a view that Inland Rail allows faster travel of goods, greater movement of goods between the states, and while it sets itself up as an economic driver for export prosperity, what it doesn't say is the impact on people who live along the freight line, what it does to their quality of life, and how it takes away their voices as they see it. We heard from the team of Inland Rail that they're planning environmental impact reports, and we'll come back to the local consultative committee with results in due course. No dates to offer locals, no comparable data from other built-up areas along the rail line. Areas like those in inner Melbourne, where up to 30 trains a day, 1.8 kilometres long, travel through high-density areas every single day of the year. When asked for information on feedback from those municipalities, we were told they'll try and access some information for us. But what Inland Rail didn't offer was options for local residents to gain assurances around noise abatement barriers, if future damage to homes occurs as a result of the soil itself moving, air quality checks and location of passing loops in built-up areas, derailment response measures, and a range of other questions asked by councillors representing our city. We in council aren't alarmists, Mr. Mayor, but many questions were asked and went unanswered during the committee hearing. We're here standing up for local residents while federal MPs elected to represent those from Beaudesert to Jimboomba, from Flagstone to Greenbank and onward to Hillcrest, stay silent on the issue. This is our local residents. They need a voice, and I hope that Inland Rail respond quickly to concerns raised, given the boost that came through just this week by the federal government to fast-track this project. I welcome a response from the Coordinator General to your letter that you wrote, expressing concerns of the local community on this project and the impact of quality of life for local residents. I hope that Inland Rail come through with the information that they promised from this committee meeting, and I look forward to hearing more from them.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Well said. Any other councillors wish to speak? I'd just like to take this opportunity just to follow up on that, to say that I have sent a letter to the Deputy Prime Minister about a united front against the freight train route, and that I congratulate those councillors coming together with that united front. What concerned me with the committee meeting was the fact that we didn't get many answers. The answers were not coming. The council and the community are still wanting to know how this is going to affect them. They had absolutely no answers regarding the noise issues, the coal issues. They had nothing to say about any tests that have been carried out or how they're going to put out sound barriers, nothing. We're none the wiser. So I have sent a letter to the Deputy Prime Minister stating our case. There'll be more coming from this, I'll tell you, because this council is united to fight that. There are so many residents affected by this. It's going to be an absolute game changer for Logan West if we can't stop the route, or at least put in the needed infrastructure that will, otherwise the damage that will be done to those residents on that route will be severely affected, and realistically I can't see how this is going to continue because of the population of the area. It would have to be the most populated area of the route between here and Melbourne. So thank you, councillors, for the united front, and we'll keep the fight going. Thank you, Councillor Dane. So any other councillors wish to speak?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to follow on from Councillor Lane. Again, I don't believe that Inland Rail or ARTC have brought anything new to the Logan City Council in their recent briefing with us. I don't believe they've consulted in appropriate forums with Council or with the community for the community to have their say, and I don't believe they are listening to us. And I don't think they've done enough to show that it is a benefit or an enhancement to Logan, which is what they keep proposing that it is. It's an enhancement to Logan. Well, I'm sorry, it's not. For us, it's doom and gloom at the moment running through our corridor. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Bradley, you wish to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Not on that particular item, just on relation to item 6.1, the intersection of Chatswood Road and Gallen Road in Springwood. I've asked for a general business item just in relation to that intersection. Council's presently doing some work around that area, and I wish to pass on my sincere thanks to residents who are impacted by night work. I had night work happening in front of my house last night, so I know how that actually impacts you. I wish to thank you sincerely in advance for that. But the report I asked for was done because during the election campaign, a lot of people in that neighbourhood asked me to raise that the intersection is quite dangerous, and some people are asking for traffic lights, so hence why I've asked for the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. There being no further speakers, I now ask Councillor Lane, you may proceed.
So thank you, Mr Mayor, and I acknowledge Councillor Bradley's contribution today and Councillor Wilcox as well as your own. We all know that Inland Rail is a done deal, Mr Mayor. It's being built and we have no choice about its location, but it should be built with Australian citizens in mind: farmers, graziers, miners, and most importantly, families that live along the rail line. They deserve surety, and with Council United, we will fight to secure that for them. That being said, I now move that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Lane has moved the motion. There is a second to the motion. Councillor Bannon has seconded the motion. I now open it to the floor. All those in favour, please vote. Thank you, councillors. That has been carried unanimously. The motion has been carried. We'll now go to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee. I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2020. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I agree that we need to shorten the name of my committee because it is quite a mouthful. There were no conflicts declared in the committee meeting. Before I move into discussion, do councillors wish to raise any now? There being none, I will now speak to the recommendations, and I'd like to speak in particular to item 4.1, which is around the employment land study. This is such an important motion for our community because if you don't have places for businesses to establish themselves and to create buildings, to create industrial sites, to create logistics facilities, you cannot create jobs. We want local people to have local jobs. We want them to live in our community, to play in our community and work in our community, and we want to keep the wealth and the energy of our people in our city. Because by doing that, we support small local businesses. So when you see a large industrial estate, it's not just the big end of town making an investment, it's an investment in all businesses in our city because everywhere they go, they bring people to work there. 60% of our community leaves the city every day and spends their money in a different part of southeast Queensland, and that is a waste of our money. We want our money spent in our city. We want to keep the wealth locked into Logan, and we do that through making sure the employment land that we've already identified. So this isn't extra employment land, Mr Mayor. This is employment land we've already identified, about 2% of the city's land mass, that we're now trying to activate so it gets investment, so it gets good development that creates good long-term jobs for every part of our community. We have a ready workforce. We just need businesses to come here and invest. It's happening in Berrinba, as we saw this week, Mr Mayor, but we need more of it. We want Berrinba to finish, we want Parkridge to start, and then move out through the rest of our employment zones. So I commend the motion to the floor, and I hope that my colleagues will support it.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Are any other speakers? No, I just want to take the opportunity to talk on item 4.1 as well. This is a game changer for us. As you know, we're competing against Gold Coast and Brisbane. Brisbane has a commercial business precinct that we cannot match. Gold Coast has a tourism precinct that we cannot match. Their rates are offset by those buildings getting quite a lot of rates from them, plus also the parking. We don't have, as you know, we don't have paid parking meters. So we have to do something different. Councillor Raven is right in saying we've got to lock in the wealth and we've got to find our own prosperity. Our own prosperity is creating jobs in the city. We need those industrial and commercial areas, and we need to recognise first where they're to go. This is the first part of it. And I'm glad that this report has come forward because we need to move forward for the whole of the city to prosper. So I'm glad this report has come out. Thank you, Councillor Raven. Any other councillors wish to speak on any other items? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I couldn't agree with you more. The advantages that Gold Coast and Brisbane that you've outlined are true, but what they don't have is they don't have our people. Our people are our asset, and they are what will take us into the future, and this motion invests in our people to create jobs and give them a brighter and more prosperous future. I would now like to move the motion of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Russell has seconded the motion. I now put the motion to the floor. Please, councillors, put your hand up if you vote in favour of the motion.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor. Could it be noted, please, that I abstain from 4.2?
Yeah, I'll record this motion first.
Yep.
And then I will take any changes on their vote on separate issues. So I'll just put that to the floor again. Those councillors in favour? Has been carried unanimously. Now, any councillors? Councillor Bradley?
Yeah, I wish my name noted as abstaining from 4.2 and also 5.1. I actually came into the room while the vote was being taken and I did put my hand up. I wasn't sitting in my chair at the time, but I was present in the room and I just want that recorded.
Okay, that's been noted. Councillor Kerensky?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Please note my vote in 4.2 as having abstained.
Thank you, Councillor Kerensky. Councillor Hall?
Mr Mayor, I'd also like to note that I abstain from the vote on 4.2.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Jeremiah?
Mr Mayor, I am abstaining from item 4.2.
Thank you. Any other councillor? Councillor Wilcox?
I would like it noted that on 4.1 I'm against the employment land strategy specifically for North Maclean.
I understand.
Thanks.
I'll have my name recorded against item 4.2 as well. Thank you, councillors. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2020. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There were no conflicts of interest declared in the committee meeting, but before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts they wish to declare? There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on in the City Lifestyles Committee, and just first and foremost, I'd just like to say how excited I am to start seeing some of Council's facilities reopening again, certainly our sporting venues, our gyms, our libraries and so on. But specifically with regard to this round of committees, I'd just like to draw attention to 5.1, which is the draft community engagement strategy. I know that I and a number of councillors were actually very keen to ensure in the last election campaign that our community's voice was heard in council. And I'm really excited about this particular item coming up. Now, I know there's been some challenges with us getting out and really getting our community engagement on our community engagement strategy due to COVID-19. But I would like to reassure residents that every effort will be made to ensure that their voices are heard, and together that we're advocating for council to better communicate with residents and provide residents with a higher standard of community engagement moving forward. So this is a particularly exciting report, and I look forward to seeing how it unfolds as we move forward. All that being said, Mr Mayor, I now call for discussion on the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to speak to item 7.1, Underwood Park redevelopment, and I will be abstaining from this particular item, just foreshadowing that. And that's because some of the content that I specifically asked for in 2 meetings wasn't within the report, and that is in relation to the community space that the community were actually consulted about on a number of occasions, and what is actually going to be delivered is actually quite substantially less than what was consulted. 784 square metres was what was consulted, and what the community will be getting is 533 square metres. The sporting facilities are absolutely amazing, and I want to thank all councillors here who are coming to have a look at the facilities at the end of the month and the start of next month. So thank you very much for that. I also note that the 1 metre footpath that is in the report has actually been replaced with a 1.8 metre footpath. So I'm very grateful, and thank you so much for doing so. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Any other speakers? No. Yes, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak against item 6.2. This area of expertise is really my forte, and usually I'd be very excited about something like this, but I believe it comes at a very wrong time, and I cannot fully support something that's using ratepayers' money, which doesn't exactly give a perceived benefit.
Is this confidential?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Please don't mention any much of the report.
Taken on note. So I'd just like to say that I'm strongly against this one.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other speakers? None being so, you can carry on, Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee be adopted.
Thank you. Councillor Karansky has moved the motion. Can I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. I now put it to the floor. Those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you.
Mr Mayor, can I please abstain from 7.1 for the reasons that I gave earlier?
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Hall?
Say I'm strongly against the motion being carried on 6.2.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Stem?
Abstain from item 6.1 and 6.2, please.
Thank you. Any others? No? Thank you, councillors. I now put it to council. We have the council reports. We have no council reports to consider. I'd Late reports, we have no late reports to consider. Petitions, do any councillors have any petitions to present? Councillor Bradley.
Mr Mayor, I just wish to ask, over the years I have presented a number of petitions in relation to the intersection of Rochdale Road and Priestdale Road, Rochdale South. I'm just wondering if Council has actually received any petitions within the last couple of years.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I'll ask the Minute Clerk, CEO.
Councillors, I'm not aware of any petition in regards to that intersection being received in the last couple of weeks.
A couple of years, sorry.
Thank you. Any other petitions?
I'm not sure. I'd have to take that on notice if you're referring to the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitions? That being none. Considerations of notified motions. We have no notified motions to consider. General business. Now, general business last time we started off with Councillor Bradley, so this time we'll start at Councillor Lane. Councillor Lane, you got any general business?
None today, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Russell?
None for me, thank you.
Councillor Karansky?
Not today, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Raven?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I would like to speak to general business. I just wanted to say how fantastic it is to have the gallery back with us, both for committee and for full council. I had no idea that people wanted to attend ordinary council so badly that they'd have a chop at me on Facebook about it, but they did. So it's back open. It's great to see the COVID restrictions lifting so people come and see firsthand just how thrilling your chairing is and what a good job our councillors doing for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall?
Nothing to report, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Fraser?
I've no GB, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hiromai?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wish to speak in favour of item 13.1. Mr Mayor, this motion's all about jobs, jobs and jobs. The Procurement and Appropriations Oversight Committee will deliver long-term savings for Council, enabling further investment in our local economy, supporting local business and supporting local jobs. Mr Mayor, I move this motion.
Yeah, we might have discussion before this. I'll be honest, I didn't know about this. So is there any discussion that we wish to raise with Councillor Hiromai before we put it to the vote? Councillor Bradley?
I'm happy to second.
You're happy to second it? Okay. Does anyone wish to discuss it? Councillor Raven?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to speak in favour of the motion because I've been working closely with Councillor Hiromai on this item. It's a fantastic concept and I love the pitch of it will create local jobs because we all know how important that is to our city. This really, once this oversight committee is established, it will allow councillors to really analyse the expenditure of council projects and to understand our procurement processes better so we can make sure we're getting value for money for the ratepayer. And I know that's something that's important for councillors, but it's also important for the organisation. I've discussed this with both the CEO and the Director of Organisational Services, and they're both excited to know that councillors have such a close interest in the purchasing and project delivery for council. And I look forward to seeing what Councillor Hiromai can produce and the savings he can identify through this process.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Any other speakers? I'll just take the opportunity to say I also agree with the idea of this going forward. I understand there is a lot of questions raised in the community about the costings of buildings and other services out there. There's always people out there who can do it better, or they say they can, until they're put on notice, and then it all comes to, well, we thought we could, but we couldn't. So it's been seconded, so I've now put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please vote. Thank you. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. You got any more general business, Councillor Hiromai?
Not at this time, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Bannon?
Nothing at this time, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Stemp?
Not today, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Wilcox?
Not today, thanks. Not at this time, Mr Mayor.
Oh, very well. Okay, well,
Excuse
I now
me, Mr Mayor. Can I-
sorry. Councillor Bradley?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to just, I suppose, make an announcement that on this Friday, it's very exciting for Underwood Park Netball Association. They're getting their keys handed over, and I know the Mayor is coming to Underwood Park to actually be a witness to that. It's a fantastic facility, and you'll get to see firsthand how amazing it is. And I have had other councillors asking about the courts as well, so you'll be able to see that very shortly. It's very exciting for the club.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Before I close the meeting, I'd just like to congratulate all the councillors to coming together, uniting on the pay issue. Over the years, the pay issue has separated councillors, and to be in this position, I've got to say, you made my life easy by coming together in such a unanimous way. You did not toy with the issue one bit. You did not falter. There was not one person who spoke for the pay rise. So I'd just like to thank you all. As a result, I now declare the meeting of the Ordinary Council meeting at 10:45 be closed. Thank you very much.